Hey, welcome back to another episode on Genealogy TV, and this is a Tiny Tip Tuesday. If you're new here, my name is Connie Knox. I'm a lifelong genealogist here to help you go further faster and factually with your family research. Now, I do this group coaching session. It's up to 5 people per session. And in one of those conversations the other day, we got to talking about the correlation of evidence. And well, I was explaining to them how I correlate evidence, and I was using an example. So with their permission, the insiders said it would be okay for me to use parts of this recorded session to share with you about this, this correlation of evidence and my technique on how to do that. So we're going to jump into that right now. All right, let me answer your question because I have pulled up on my screen. I'm going to share here in just a second what I used for a proof argument to show. Let me just share it and I'll explain.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just explain the problem behind this family before I explain what you're looking at. Can you see that pretty clearly? I can zoom in just a little bit farther.
It's beautiful.
Okay, so in order to prove a case, so and what you're talking about is correlation of evidence. And so I use Excel spreadsheets a lot for a variety of different ways of doing it. So in this case, what I was trying to do was prove that Jack Conway was the same guy, as Elsie or Ellsworth Booth. This guy, I'm not going to go into the whole story, but this guy got himself into a little trouble and changed his name. Let's just put it that way. And so by 1930, he shows up. This is actually my grandfather. He shows up in California with a different name, along with his wife. So I had to prove that this was the same guy. Even though I had DNA evidence, I had to prove it without DNA evidence. That's a whole other story. But what I did was I took every document that I found. So here is the manuscript that the family had written. And I just pulled out the data out of that document. Okay. So here's the data: birth date, birthplace, spouses' names, all these little pieces of evidence, pieces of facts that we're pulling out. And keep in mind, and Beth, especially if you're new at this, keep in mind that just because somebody states it as a fact doesn't mean it is.
Right.
Question everything. So here we've got, you know, the family story. Then I've got a death certificate, a burial record, a Social Security application, a 1940 census. So we've got all of these different documents over time. And I went and I put in, okay, the year 1902 is very consistent with his birth year, except for this one. And so what I did was I went and I did this with every single one of these pieces of evidence. And let me zoom back out just a little bit. So the idea here is if you look, and then I went and color coded everything. So everything that matches is in yellow, even after he changes his name. His father's name, he says, is Oliver or Ollie, but yet after he changed his name to Conway, he changed the surname from Booth to Conway. So he's got Oliver Conway, Ollie Conway. So if you go through the whole thing, you have to write it up, but you basically go through and you say, okay, this matches, this matches, this matches, this doesn't match. Okay, if this doesn't match, why do I think it doesn't match? Or how could I explain why it doesn't match? And there are a couple areas where it does. But he even mentions, he mentions a sister Beth up here, Bess, excuse me. And then down here is Bess and Bess. And so all the areas that are matching, even after he changes his name, I was able to correlate all this evidence into a document and say, I'm going to stop sharing now. I think you kind of getting the idea. So the idea is that you take all the evidence, you map it out, and you find where it matches. Now, the thing you got to be careful is something called evidence bias.
Yep.
So you don't want to like try and prove your theory. In fact, sometimes I think sometimes a hypothesis can only get you in trouble, because if you so want that theory to be true, forget it. This guy supposedly is related to John Wilkes Booth. I disproved that. You know what? Well, I need hardcore evidence. Everything else about this crazy guy was true. Everything that the family told me, but except for that one fact. John Wilkes Booth never had any children, and unless it went way up the line beyond where I have traced and comes back down. But for the most part, the idea is that you correlate all the evidence and you resolve the conflicting evidence. Well, I hope you found that helpful. If you did, give us a thumbs up. And well, if you would like to become a Genealogy TV Insider, there are 2 sessions that I do with 5 people each month. That is the first Tuesday of each month or the 3rd Thursday of each month. Plus, I usually try and schedule a bonus session for all insiders in case somebody can't make one of the sessions. Okay, so those are $35 a month if you're interested. That is actually on sale because they normally are $49 a month. If you're interested in getting more information about that, you can go over to genealogytv.org and click on the Insiders tab at the top of the page. Or if you just you're ready to sign up and you want to do this, jump over to patreon.com/genealogytv and you can sign up there. Just scroll down the right-hand side of the page and you'll see whichever session you want to sign up with. All right, until next time, keep on climbing your family tree.